Hello, everybody. Peace and power, elevation be to all of you. This your girl Tiffany coming through here live in effect. And today I'm going to get into the history about Atlanta, Black History Atlanta. So, when people hear about the city of Atlanta, they hear about many accomplishments. They hear about how the city have grown musically, real estate, um, hair fashion, even movie wise, because Marvel Studios is out here, Tyler Perry Studio, all of that, right? But people don't really know the exact history about Atlanta. Atlanta don't even get the spotlight when it comes to Black history as much compared to Chicago, Detroit, New York. You'll hear a lot about Black history in those areas, but you don't hear much about Black history in Atlanta. And when you do, you'll hear about something pertaining to Dr. Martin Luther King, which Dr. King, he was born and raised in the city. Okay. But it's many more who have done a lot of work, not only just in the city itself, but just for the community as a whole. And they don't have that much recognition, or they don't gain a lot of popularity or respect. And this is what happened when you're dealing with people who want to control the narrative. They tell us what they want us to know, and not everything that we need to know. Okay. So, and I want to say peace to the chat. Shout out to you, brother Umi. Thank you for coming through. So I want to get into that aspect of history. And what I'm going to do is I am going to be discussing about two things. So I'm going to be talking about Joyland Park, the history of Joyland Park, and also Arthur Landford Jr. Okay. So let's go into Joyland Park first. So I try to find out as much as I possibly could about Joyland Park. There's not a whole lot of information regarding to the history, but I only was able to pull up what I could, and that was the only information I was able to get access to was Wikipedia. So let me go ahead and let's get into that. All right. So what I came across regarding to the history about Joyland Park. Now here's the flyer. That's the flyer right there. And the flyer says, and I'm going to zoom it up just a little bit. It says Color Museum Park open May 16th. So Joyland Park, owned by a number of colored citizens located on South Prior Street, will be formally opened on May 16th, when a large number of Negroes will attend the program to be present on the opening date. One of the principal events will be a competitive drill by the entire Georgia Regiment of the Uniform Ranks of Knights of Pathos, which will take place at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Requests have been made to Governor Dorsey and Mayor Key to make addresses. So this was around the 1920s. And Joyland Park sold 3614 left. So these was homes that was in the amusement park area. So hurry if you want to buy one of these new masonry homes. All have nice living room, bath, and large kitchens, plus plenty of cabinets and closets. 2 bedrooms, street paved, and all city was gas, sewage, and electric. Now in beautiful lots overlooking city. The price at that time was $6,275. It would take approximately $625 in cash for down payment and closing costs on FHA loan. Mortgage notes approximately 43, including taxes and insurance. Required salary of $190 per month to qualify for loan. Go South Prior Road about 3 or 4 miles beyond University Drive to Grover Street. Follow road to top of the hill. Open Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday afternoons from 3 to 6 p.m. Mr. Meyer or Mr. Hamilton on premises, or call them at, what's the number? Okay. Yeah. Call them and the number is kind of cut off, so at the bottom. But these are the flyers that was around during the time of the 20s. All right, so the main purpose of them opening up their amusement park was because during the 20s, there was no amusement park for African Americans to go to. And this was during segregation. So blacks could not go to other places like Piedmont Park and all these different parks that was catered to white folks, okay, or those that was in the privileged class. So city councils came together and put up a fight and said, all right, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to put the amusement park together for African Americans. And you had civil rights leaders or activists at that time that said, yeah, we're going to have to do this because it's not fair. We want to be able to make sure that kids have somewhere to go and enjoy themselves. You know, families can take their children to these places. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some Wikipedia source because that's all I was able to gain access to. And right here. And here it is, according to Wikipedia. Wikipedia said, Joyland is a neighborhood of small single-family homes in southeast Atlanta, Georgia, and site of a former 1921 amusement park built for African Americans. So now it's just homes and things like that that's over there now. The park is no longer there. And it says it is bordered by the downtown connector, I-75, I-85, freeway on the west, High Point on the north, Pryor Avenue and the villages at Carver on the east, and a Mile Heights on the south. So it says on May 16, 1921, Joyland Park, an amusement park for African Americans, was opened in the area according to its ad in the Atlanta Independent at the time, the only shady part where African Americans could enjoy themselves. The opening a number of prominent Atlanteans spoke. So Mayor James Key, Big Bethel AME Church Pastor Reverend Dr. Richard Henry Singleton, Wheat Street Baptist Church Pastor Reverend Dr. P. James Bryant, Jesse O. Thomas, founder of the Clark Atlanta School of Social Work and the first director of the Southern Field Division of the National Urban League, prominent black physician and founding member of the Atlanta NAACP chapter, Dr. William F. Penn. So in 1926, a subdivision for African Americans, also called Joyland Park, was built here. Residents included farmers, farmhands, and laborers. Lots were around 4,000 square feet in size. So again, that's the advertisement and that's the newspaper. Then it says later the Joyland Park public housing project was built in the area. Okay, so it tells you what district is a part of. So it says the NPU, which is the Y district. So what does NPU stand for? NPU stand for Neighborhood Planning Unit. Okay, so you know when you go to your city council, whatever, they'll find out like what NPU that you're a part of or what neighborhood planning that you like, what area you in. So like you have the mayor of the city, but you have city council that operate within different part of the city. Okay, so that's how they know what, like based on the neighborhood planning unit, as far as what location that you at, that's how you will know what your city council is and who's over that area. Yeah, so yeah, that's kind of like how they do that. All right. Let's see. And it says Joyland Park at the center of the neighborhood was renamed Arthur Landford Park in 1995 in honor of city councilman, okay, Georgia State Senator and Minister Arthur Landford Jr., who I will go into. And Joyland has a street named after him, Arthur Landford Jr. Place. All right, so I just want to show you guys that. And let me show you a picture of Arthur Landford Park before I go into the history about him. I thought I had it on here. Well, obviously I don't. Okay, so I don't have it. I thought I had the picture on here. But yeah, there's a park in the area and it's located within Southeast Atlanta. So it's basically not too far from Grant Park and Pryor Street and all of that. It's not too far from downtown area either. So now I don't know much about that area growing up because I never really went over there to Joyland Park. So I don't know much about it. And I'm not too familiar about it. But when I found out that it was once an African American museum, amusement park, I was just like very intrigued, and I figured that it's only fair that people would know this aspect about this history because it has not gained that type of exposure. And I don't think many of us ever heard about the history of Joyland Park and how the amusement park came into existence. I don't think a lot of us knew about it. So I thought that it was very important. So again, that's all the information I could gather regarding to that history. Now, let's get into Arthur Landford. So who was Arthur Landford? Let's go ahead and let's look him up. All right. So I have some information about him. And I would like to share that with you guys. Okay. So yeah, I have a couple of information about him. Sorry about that. And then I have this book right here. I recommend this all the time to people. The title of this book is called "The Legend of the Black Mecca: Politics and Class in the Making of Modern Atlanta" by Maurice J. Hobson. Okay, so on the cover right over here is the protest about the whole killing of the children around the 1980s, which Wayne Williams was arrested during that time. He was considered a suspect. He was responsible for all the murders of those kids. And then on the opposite side, that's Maynard Jackson, and they were celebrating the street of MLK, Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. So yeah, that was the celebration with Coretta Scott King and many others. All right. So yes, I was able to gather some information about Arthur Landford in this book. So whatever Wikipedia don't give me, then I can get it from the book and then I can go from there. All right, so let me show you guys a couple of images of him. So this is him right here in the middle. He has a sign saying, "Stop the pusher, beware brothers pusher." Okay. So he was known to be an activist, and he was known to fight against drug and crimes in urban communities. Okay. Then here's another one. A couple of more pictures. This is a picture of him later on. Right, that's a picture of him right there. Then he written a book. You can find on Amazon if you want to look for it. There's a book by him. This book is titled The Life of a King by Arthur Landford Jr. So it was a story about him and a story about Dr. King, as you can see. And the book can be found on Amazon. All right. So if you guys want to support the copy, you can. The Life of a King. That's the title of it. I can zoom it up for you. All right. I'm doing well. How you doing? Thank you for asking. So let's go into the information. Let's go into the history. So as you can see, again, I was only able to find the information from Wikipedia. And here it is. It says that Arthur E. Landford Jr., he was born October the 3rd, 1949, and he died April the 15th, 1994. All right, so he was born in Atlanta. Of course, he's from Atlanta, Georgia. All right. So he was a city councilman and a state senator. He was a student at Morris Brown College. So Langford worked against drugs and violence in poor neighborhoods, founding the United Youth Adult Conference. Langford was an ordained Baptist minister who served at West Hunter Street Baptist Church as an associate minister and Rush Memorial Congregational Church as pastor. All right, so of course in 1995, the Lakewood Freeway was renamed the Arthur Landford Memorial Parkway in honor of Landford, and there is a Landford Park in a street in his old neighborhood, Joyland. And the United Youth Adult Conference, the second, maintains the Arthur Landford Jr. Teen Leadership Institute. All right, so let's look into the United Youth Adult Conference. Oh no, the story. Okay, so the book that he wrote was about Dr. King. However, the person I'm talking about is not Dr. King. His name is Arthur Landford Jr. But he written a book about Dr. King. So the book is called The Life of a King. And you can look that up on Amazon if you're interested. How you doing? Peace. All right, so now there's a website where this organization can be found. And that is the UYAC.org, the United Youth Adult Conference, committed to bridging the gap between yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And you can see this James Brown over here. It says the Arthur Landford Teen Leadership Institute is a summer leadership development program for high school students ages 14 to 18. During these 10 weeks, our students will learn how to be productive civic leaders in our community. Okay. And so as you can see, these the kids they got. And it says making our community stronger, United Youth Adult Conference. Let's see if I can find the. All right, so here's the background. So here's the picture of him right over here to the right. All right, so that's a picture of him again over here. Let's see if I can blow it up. And there's Jesse Jackson. All right, so it says Arthur Landford Jr., founding president of the United Youth Adult Conference 1949 to 1994. Okay. It says Arthur Landford Jr. dedicated himself to improving the quality of life for all people through any moral means necessary. While a student at Morris Brown College in Atlanta, Arthur reacted to the death of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. by immortalizing him in a play, The Life of a King. This play was performed more than 600 times nationwide. So in 1972, at the age of 23, Arthur was elected to Atlanta City Council, where he served as its youngest member. During his 8 years on the council, he championed major legislation on behalf of young people and senior citizens. So in the 1980s, Arthur and UYAC organized weekly Saturday searches in response to Atlanta's missing and murdered children. He continued his work with this organization in the 1990s by leading searches for missing children and adults and by canvassing Atlanta neighborhoods for information about crimes. So Arthur served as pastor of Rush Memorial Congregational United Methodist Church from 1983 to 1988, and later served as an associate minister of West Hunter Street Baptist Church under the leadership of Reverend Ralph David Abernathy, a renowned civil rights leader. So Arthur served 10 years in the Georgia State Senate representing the 35th Senatorial District. During his tenure in the Senate, he served as a chairman of the Fulton County delegation and was named chairman of the Consumer Affairs Committee, vice chairman of the Black Caucus, and chairman of the Senate Correction Committee. So it says, during his brief 44 years here on earth, Arthur always tried to give more to society than he would take. In all of life's challenge, he never stopped believing that the Lord will make a way somehow. Okay. So he died at the age of 44. That's a very young age to die. That's very young, but he was going through some serious health condition, obviously. So he passed away. But he had done a lot in so much in his 44 years. So he put up a fight, he did what he could to make sure that the community was effective and making sure he was dedicated to the people. All right. I want to share some information from this book right here. So I'm gonna be using this book pretty often when I'm talking about the history of Atlanta. Okay. Because this book is dealing with a lot and has a lot of details regarding to like from the civil rights era, W.E.B. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington, the music industry. It goes into a whole lot of things. So I'm going to be using a lot of information from this book here. All right, so let's see. Um, all right, so let's go into this book. Let's start with the emergence of Bat Patrol. So the reason why they had the Bat Patrol situation because there was so much crime taking place in the poor inner city area. So in that time in the 80s, Atlanta was like really, it was off the chain when it came to crime. So after the whole thing happened to little kids getting kidnapped and getting killed and being found dead in the Chattanooga River and other places, that's when they started to say, all right, we're gonna have to be on patrol. We're gonna have to, walk around and keep an eye on the area. So, anyways, let's start here. It says the emergence of the Bat Patrol and their alleged vigilant status also illustrate other issues seen in Atlanta. Unlike other central cities, it was far too easy to get handguns in Atlanta. And it says, it was too far easy to get handguns in Atlanta. The Guardian Angels, an unarmed volunteer patrol in New York City who had converged on Atlanta for a 3 weeks stay with the intention of helping catch the killers, left the city bewildered by the fact that guns could be purchased at grocery stores. In Georgia, the criteria for purchasing a gun were a proper state ID, proper state issued driver license, and adult status. And it says guns were sold at Kmart and other popular retail stores. The segments expressed by the Guardian Angels seemed counterproductive to the Bat Patrol because the Guardian Angels went to Atlanta to persuade Atlanta's children to band together and not resort to using weapons. They were instrumental in delivering the death blow to the Bat Patrol. And it says their presence in the city prompted a citywide advisory council on public housing, which represent 18 of the 25 public housing projects in the city that would provide patrols and organize search parties. It says the Guardian Angels, deemed to be criminals themselves, were not well received by Black Atlanteans and were considered interlopers who were unfamiliar with Atlanta's Black communities and people, the primary targets of the killers. Because City Hall knew this, they were able to counter widespread segments felt by Atlanta's Black and poor and to enact a more systematic approach to patrol that further marginalized armed resistance. So it goes on to mention the patrol established by citizen volunteers were called the Watch Patrol. The Watch Patrols were created by the United Youth Adult Conference, which was led by Councilman Arthur Landford and brought together citizen volunteers trained by the police. Their primary concern was to work with the police to enforce the 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. curfew in the city. The group planned to flood the streets with 1,000 to 2,000 volunteers during the summer months when hundreds of thousands of school children need supervision. It says, along with the development of the Watch Patrol and the start of the summer months, Public Safety Commissioner Lee P. Brown appealed to the youth to travel in groups at all times. Brown also pointed out that all the abduction had occurred when the victim was alone, and he emphasized that parents should ensure that their children were aware of this fact at all times. Okay, so again, that was during a serious time where there was too many kids getting kidnapped and they were being murdered. They were found dead in certain areas of the city. Okay, and Wayne Williams, who I will talk about one day in this discussion, in this conversation about Black history, So Wayne Williams was the prime suspect in the whole killing of the children in Atlanta. Okay. Um, let's see what else. So it goes on to talk about the public housing, right? And let's go to where they talk about Bankhead Courts. So Bankhead Courts were built on a dump site in 1970 at a cost of almost $10 million. Sandwiched between Interstate 285 and the Chattanooga River, a mile north of the Interstate 20, the 500 unit housed 1,703 tenants by the end of 1988, 1,025 of whom were younger than age 18, and 81 of its units were vacant. The average monthly cost, the average monthly rent was $79. 98% of the household were headed by single women, many of them either teenage mothers or young grandmothers. According to the Atlanta Housing Authority, the average age of grandmothers in Bankhead Court was 32. Yes, 32. The average annual family income was $3,500. Only 42 of the 1,703 tenants were employed. Strikingly, Bankhead Courts had become too dangerous for letter carriers, telephone repairmen, taxi drops off, and emergency services. Most of these services were either cut or had waned significantly as a result of drug related violence. So, violence was so rampant that a 3-day hiatus on mail delivery and restriction on phone service was a normal occurrence. The Atlanta Housing Authority acknowledged serious sewage and plumbing problems caused by the apartment's location, although the Atlanta Housing Authority spent more than $2 million in repairs from 1984 to 1988. It would cost another $1.5 million to renovate each of the 81 vacant apartments. We would tear it down and relocate everybody if we had the authorization from Washington. Beyond the physical deficiency, Bankhead Courts had serious management difficulties that left the project without a single social program or organized activity. These conditions were characteristic of those endured by Black Atlanteans living in public or low income housing throughout the city. Georgia inefficiency at the local, state, or and federal levels were prevalent in the terms of housing condition, but the interruption of the city's service to the housing projects because of drug activities indicate the city's inability to protect citizens, its irresponsibility, or a lack of concern. Then goes on to say, in light of the dire conditions seen in Bankhead Courts, several Black public officials and civic leaders, including State Senator Arthur Landford, City Councilman Archie Byron, and Fulton County Commission Chairman Michael Lomont, implemented educational vigils in the drug-infested apartments. Vigils were cut short when gunfire was heard, but they served their purpose as political and civic figures to assure tenants of their concern and awareness of the drug crisis. So with their present witness firsthand accounts on this issue and other social and economic ills. So in this chapter, in this book, it talks about the public housing, and it goes into how Bankhead Court was built around 1970, and even after that, shortly things got worse in the area. So, crime was absolutely high. Like people could not really go into that area. It was like a lot of folks were scared to go into Bankhead Courts and Bowen Homes. And Bowen Homes was named after an African American, okay, who I did a previous video on, J.W. Bowens. So Bankhead Court is home to many artists, right? So T.I. came up out of Bankhead Court area, and Charlie Lowe came up out of Barn Homes and all of that. So yeah, so Barn Home was named after John W.E. Barnes. Okay. Right. So John W.E. Barnes was a African American slave, and he became a clergyman. Okay. So if you guys want to see that video that I did on him, y'all can look at my previous videos. Just look up the history about the Barn Homes, or look up John W.E. Barnes. So yes, I did a video on him and that history about Barn Homes. But anyways, yeah. So when Bankhead Court came about, um, it didn't take that long for it to like turn into some type of war zone. Okay, so many public official or people that work for the government, they didn't want to go into the area. So people who were working for the post office or even paramedics, they were too hesitant to go over there to Bankhead Courts because of the crimes. Yep. So that's how it was. And I mean, even when in the 90s, when I was coming up as a kid, you didn't go to Bankhead Court and you didn't go over there to Barn Home. You didn't really fool with the West Side because it was a whole beef about the West Side versus the East Side. And it was like, nah, you didn't go over there. You didn't fool with them folks over there. You would have got yourself in some serious shit. Like, seriously, that's how bad it was back then. But there's a lot of, and there's a lot of things going on now. So now the west side of Atlanta is not really known for its high crimes like that. It's like now you going to the suburbs, that's where the hot spot taking place. That's where a lot of crimes is happening. People getting robbed over there, people getting their cars broken into. It's a lot. And then better be careful going to the gas station, because that's another hot spot. The gas station is a hot spot where criminals come and take your shit, hijack you or whatever. Yep. So it's a lot of gentrifying going on. And you know, when you have a lot of gentrifying taking place, that's going to drive criminals to the areas where things are being gentrified or where the money is going to. So places like the north side of Atlanta, where there's a lot of celebrities living at, and or people who have money or who have the wealth, that's where they're targeting. They're targeting those areas to get whatever they want, to get access to the resources, get access to the valuable things. And that's mainly it. Because like you can't really rob somebody that's from your neighborhood because they don't really got what you're looking for. So y'all kind of like net to net. So you're gonna go where the money is at. And that's how they doing it now. You know. But anyways, I just want to thank you guys for watching the video. For those of you that are watching, so I hope you all have a good one and be safe. And until next time, this your girl Tiffany saying peace and power elevation be to all of you. And I will talk to y'all later. And until then, deuces. All right. And for those of you just coming in, you have to watch the video from the very beginning. So basically, that's the segment of the Black history of Atlanta. And there's going to be more to come. So just be on the lookout for that. All right. Y'all take it easy. Peace.